the guy the opportunity to express himself. Other than that, I don't know what to expect. So, anyway, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 860, Fixing the RPG Problem. I can think of individual games with individual problems that happen to be RPGs by definition, I guess, but I can't think of a generic, all-encompassing problem that the genre has for ever. Like, I don't know. It was hard enough to wrap my brain around RPGs being the dominant genre of video game for the past few decades. And now that it's pretty much in everything, I'm thinking, okay, what exactly is wrong with it? I don't know. So it really depends on the nature of the game. If you're talking about subgenres of RPG, like the Western RPG, the JRPG, whether the simulation is part of getting RPG mechanics, whether others, like other games that are non-RPGs, have RPG mechanics, so levels and health and all these other stuff. So I don't know. Hard to say. But anyway, this is a almost half-hour video from Mr. Asad Anjum. It came out 2 weeks ago. It's got 50,000 views. So we should have some kind of critical analysis, some kind of data to fall back on. I don't know what this guy plays, but I want a definition. Like, if you're going to give me a problem with something, give me a definition of the thing and then the problem with the thing. That'd be nice. So
right now I can't tell whether his title card, Make It Boring, is the problem or the solution.
Oh, yeah.
It could be the solution because, well, when I play an RPG, I want to be able to take in the world, and that takes time, which might be boring to other people who just want their on-rails roller coaster ride.
And that's the gaming element, not necessarily the narrative element. So is he finding the story boring? Is he finding the storytelling boring? Is it something about the gameplay he doesn't like specific to a game? Like, there's all kinds of elements here. Games are very complicated. They have many moving parts, and even my favorite game has problems. Like, so it's not just there's a generic problem with all RPGs. It's like a specific RPG or a game that happens to be an RPG has problems in it, which may not even be the RPG parts. So, who knows? Anyway, I'm curious because I did watch the first few minutes like weeks ago when it came out, and I was like, yeah, didn't really catch my interest after that. So, anyway, here we go. 26 minutes.
Greatest contradiction. They're simultaneously designed to...
Are RPGs the greatest contradiction?
No.
I don't think so, but okay.
Give you the freedom, the ultimate scale, the ultimate world building, and often the ultimate power fantasy.
No, RPGs are not about scale and power fantasies. Those are external. They could have those narrative elements. They could be big. They could be open world. They could be MMOs. So no.
I think this is using the games like Skyrim, Witcher 3, Fallout as the template of the RPG genre.
Yeah.
And I do not think it's correct. It's the open world RPG. In that regard, then I would not even call it RPG, but more of an action RPG.
Yeah, then there's the subgenre of action RPG. There's a whole class of turn-based RPGs. So you could look at
which we back then just called hack and slay because there was very little role playing in it.
Yeah, and then you got the JRPGs, which are the Squaresoft ones with active time battle, which is a cross between turn-based and real time. So
which then is often also less role playing and more story on rails, even though it is quite a vast one, where you defined where you would go, but the story itself does not contain any decisions.
Yeah.
I feel like the label of RPG currently just means something completely different than the original meaning of the word, because it was kind of meant to be, the role playing game. You are kind of fulfilling some kind of role and all of that. what is happening currently is it is an RPG if you have numbers, if you have level progression, and all of that.
Yeah.
And
And the story can go and suck ass. At least that's how I feel about a lot of the modern
Well, it
RPG
means all of
games.
these different variants at the same time, which can exist independent of each other and would be their own genres, really. But to his line prior to that, which is the biggest contradiction in video gaming, that I think is rather described as it's not made for you, and you were at fault for it tanking because you didn't buy it.
Maybe.
Well, if you take this line to it, I would think its logical conclusion. So if his label of RPG applies mostly to games like, as I've said, Skyrim, like Witcher 3, and in theory, there isn't all that much role-playing in those games to be done. Most of the quests and everything is on rails. Your choices barely matter in everything.
Well, Witcher 3 at least has them.
Right.
Yeah.
They at least give you fluff, and it is in part about the fluff.
They're all independent of the main story. Well, there are some connections, but they're very minor. So, and we understand that because you can't have a gigantic game that has all these branches that connect to all their other plots. So it doesn't seem feasible. Like when you have DLC come out, we can connect the other DLC and the other main plots and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, yeah, I even look at a game that's designed just on branching paths, like a visual novel. It's like, are you actively playing? Is it a game that you're taking the role as? Well, you're mostly just reading a series of prompts and scripts, and you are the main character, but you're not actually doing much in terms of a game. It's just a kinetic novel sometimes. So those kinds of games would have branching paths where you may be allowed to have a series of choices that change things, which is kind of like what we saw with Deus Ex when it first came out. The gameplay was part of that, but once you chose that gameplay, you were stuck doing the stealth path or the tech path or the fighting path or whatever you chose, because you couldn't really deviate.
Which Deus Ex are you talking about?
The original.
Because when you say the original, you weren't stuck on a path.
You pretty much had to...
It would be difficult, but all the other paths would still be open to you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you could, but it'd be really hard, and that's kind of like your playstyle.
Yeah, that's very different from the game locking you out of those in a hard manner.
Right. It would just be very like that's. Yeah, I guess you could still try to play like combat mode, but you die so quickly. So it's just the way you spec your character. Like that's kind of what when we think of RPGs. Like, okay, you could play any way you want, but once you play it one way, that's it. That's all you can do. So, as opposed to Skyrim, where you could just do everything, you just grow in every direction. So,
you must also not forget that there are oddities that through this would be classified as RPGs when they are not really, like Terranigma, where you have your completely solid plot, but you can affect the world. It can grow, it can develop, but it doesn't affect the story at all.
Yeah, I was thinking of the remaster of Suikoden, because I just played it recently, where if
your character's set.
Yeah, everyone's all set, everyone's static, but if you do get them all, you can get a different ending with some characters living and dying, which is, again, normal plot progression with branches. It's just the way you get there is through collecting all your Pokemon people. So that's just a different way of getting to that extra branch. So it's...
They're called pals today, Smud.
Pals?
Be politically correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
The NPC. Okay.
We don't say slave anymore. We say pal.
Slave. All right. Anyway.
Everything a slog. Traversing worlds takes forever.
Okay, not all games are slogs. Chrono Trigger was a very quick game, less than 10 hours or 12 hours, depending on how you read everything or explored everything. So
if traversing the world is your problem, then it's not made for you.
Yeah.
You need quick travel points. You play an action game.
Especially if you take the label that he said. the beginning. So it was the massive world and all of that. And then he starts by bitching about traversing the world.
And then you get into the argument of, can you have fast travel then? Can you just skip places you've already been? Do you have to re-explore places you've already gone to?
How do you even feel that the world is big if you don't take a long hike?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, oh, it's a slog. It's a real open world, big 60-hour game. It's like, well, yeah, it's supposed to be big. What were you expecting? A tiny little room?
Yeah, you need to walk from Balmora to Vivek on foot. Otherwise, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's kind of with every Fallout game, no matter the scale, you have to explore places first before you could fast travel. So, don't see the problem with that.
Conversations take forever. You spend a significant...
Wait, conversations take forever? No, they can't just say that. The conversations in Deus Ex Mankind Divided were fantastic. You wanted them to take forever. You wanted to know all the nuances of your systems. Geez, man, like some of the games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, they're all about, that's the main gameplay element is the conversation. Sure.
Yeah, these RPGs on for the computer started as MUDs and text multi-user dungeons and text adventures. That is text only.
I mean, The Witcher that he is showing on screen, the first game was mostly conversations. The second one involved a lot of them, and the third one also. In the books, theoretically, monster slaying is 90% of finding out stuff, usually by conversations.
Yeah, if what he's just said is really his problem, then he's just in the wrong genre and needs to leave to Madden 2025 or something. Have fun. Or play, I don't know, Unreal Tournament.
amount of time scrolling through menus, checking gear, watching numbers fly by, repairing weapons, managing your weight limit, and even some of the best RPGs are littered with busy work quests and time sink activities. And it's that exact contradiction that to a lot of people...
It's not a contradiction. How is it a contradiction, sir? Games are big. They're made to be either a on rails story or there's degrees of that between a middle ground and a simulation. A simulation is like, let's recreate everything. So weight limits, inventory, kinds of gear, kinds of bullets, certain kinds of guns. Then there's hardcore mode. You have to drink, you have to eat, you have to sleep, etc. That's part of the experience. And if you like the experience, you go. It's kind of like going with a girlfriend somewhere. If you love your girlfriend, you do stupid shit with her that she wants to do just because she wants to do it. You're like, yeah, let's go pet the monkeys or whatever. It's like, that's stupid, but who cares? You enjoy it because you're with your girlfriend. It's just part of the experience. And you learn to tolerate certain things if you don't like them.
I would say that in this point of tedium, usually when a game is tedious overall, that is a problem. If it's just a few of the things that are time sinks, that doesn't really matter all that much because usually these things can be skipped.
Yep.
And are played through by people who enjoy the world, who enjoy the experience.
Exactly.
Itself.
Because when you play a game like Dragon Age or the originals, you want to go on side quests, not because of the quest experience points, like that's part of the gameplay. It's because of your characters you like so much and how they react to the mundane nature of getting some old woman's ring that she lost, whatever. It's like, oh, what is Morrigan going to say about that? How is she going to interact with Sten? How are they going to make a joke? Like that's what you want to hear. You want to hear the dialogue just to get that, oh, we saved another passerby's problem. Fantastic. Let's go save the world now. Like that's the kind of attitude you want to get from certain games. So you do everything not because the thing you're doing is fun. It's because the payoff is fun and the people or the characters you're with are fun to experience it with. All right. Anton Zero. How you doing, sir? Been playing Expedition 33. Pretty good so far. Yep. It looked like a great game. The trailer was fantastic. I saw the gameplay trailer as well. And very flashy, but hopefully there's some substance there. So, a little bit too surreal for my taste, but I might check it out later. Who knows?
So dynamic and engaging. I was talking slog really was the perfect word to use here, but not in a negative way. It's that total and complete commitment, the fact that the game doesn't cut anything out and instead allows you to interact with even the most minute details of the story and the world that makes them so appealing. You're not just playing the highlight reel, you're playing the role. And to be honest, that's something,
Yes.
The highlight reel? What does that mean?
That would be some action-oriented game like Force Unleashed.
So you're only blowing up the big objects with your force powers. You're not fighting the mooks all the time. Is that what you mean?
The roller coaster ride.
Oh, okay. Loop the loops.
It's a roller coaster ride. Well, he understands now that the big role-playing game is the world. Your character in the world. It's a simulation. It's which is what we do when we play the previous technology version of the role-playing game, which is at the table with friends in our imagination, where we rotate apples.
Bit of a strained relationship with myself. The term RPG is really broad and sometimes hard to define, but I think what I've come to realize is that games that are considered action RPGs, like the Souls games, as well as games that align mostly with different genres but have strong RPG elements, like the new God of War games, are right up my alley. But
That is not an RPG at all. It's just an action slasher, which a boring slasher, more rather, because it's not that actiony.
It's kind of what I said before, that the label of RPG gets put onto anything that has numbers in it and kind of gear progression and stuff like that, which is stupid.
Yeah, this game, for example, is what we see on the screen right now is very niche, I would say, and you can technically consider it part of like the interplay style, isometric, Planescape. People call it, for some reason, it's like Planescape Torment, and I understand why, but it's not really the same game. It's not really the same genre. It doesn't even have the same combat. It's very, again, it's very niche. It's kind of like a labor of love or a labor of effort from the creators to make that sort of experience. You're like, oh, this is different, and not everyone would consider that an RPG.
the core RPG experience, where there's personality on top of your playstyle, you have a more active hand in building relationships and making decisions, and you have to deal with the socio-economic climate of the world you're dropped into.
What does that mean? Does that mean you buy stuff from the marketplaces? You talk to the vendors?
Well, it is reflected in the quests you get, and so with the culture of the characters, with what they need, what they want, what they give. But that's I don't think I would use that big word.
Yeah, like when we play a thief in the Thief games, I mean, you are technically interacting with the social economic world of the game, but you're stealing from people.
Been my thing. Basically, I'm more of a hit a giant snake person in the dome with a big wind lance first, ask 400 questions later kind of guy, and I thought that was just how it was going to be forever. And then this happened. Oh, hey, sorry, this is kind of an awkward spot for you to catch me in. I'm currently lugging some sacks of seeds over into this barn over here before I head off to shovel some poop out of a latrine.
As you should.
Why am I lugging sacks of seeds into a barn before I shovel poop out of a latrine? Good question. Well, I was playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I ran into these two guys talking about poetry or something in a tavern, and I sort of got roped into that conversation, and it started a side quest. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything here, so I'll just say that I had to go find something, and then I had to find a guy to fix that thing, and he was kind of hard to track down because he was drunk and stuck in a tree, which was a whole other side quest that I had to do, by the way. And then when I finished all of that, I was finally able to ask him the thing that I initially came there for, and he told me that I had to get another thing, which I had to travel to a different town to buy. And then I brought it back to this guy, he fixed my thing, and then I finally got back to the two guys I met initially, but found out that I wouldn't get my reward until I paid off a debt, which included lugging sacks of seeds into a barn before shoveling poop out of a latrine.
Yeah, sounds like a perfectly normal day. You could as well have played Morrowind.
Or Witcher 3.
Which is beautiful. You should play Morrowind.
Or any other game that gives you mundane things to do.
Yeah, this is the way.
Here I am, doing the end of a series of wild goose chases, fairly mundane fetch quests, and a laundry list of inconveniences. It's all been topped off with this, which has been going on for a long time now. So why am I having so much goddamn fun?
You like the experience? Why is this?
Oh, no, I can tell you. Because there was this entire adventure, and it is now capped off with this mundane, little, peaceful moment.
This is no different than playing any game and going, oh, I get it. There's shooting, then there's talking, then there's base building, and then you go back and you repeat the cycle. I like this cycle. I like this setting. I like the world. I like the characters. I like the music. I like all the weapons. And you just sort of, it's charming to you for some reason, even if all you're doing is planting seeds and making a garden and fighting off the enemies with the weed whacker or something. It doesn't matter.
He's figuring out that not all tedium is tedium.
Yeah.
Something that looks like tedium is actually relaxing.
Has he ever had like a mundane job like, planting seeds or washing windows and goes, hey, this is actually not too bad. I get the fresh air. I get to clean things. I get a job. It's
I don't think he does this. I don't think he is part of a gardening culture.
Yeah, well, or any job that you have to do mundane things and help people and have a hard day's work. I don't know.
Even though I've never personally connected with a whole ton of games in this genre, I've always respected the attempts they make to become the ultimate, all-encompassing game experiences, borrowing from practically...
I don't think they're trying to do that. Every studio has their own mission. Like with Baldur's Gate 3, they want to make the ultimate game with talking heads and choices and turn-based combat and all kinds of goofy D&D mechanics that you could do. You could have freedom to do whatever you like. That was the general idea. And they've always been that they do detail, like Divinity Original Sins 2, like they want to do those detailed big games where there's more than one path to do a thing.
The idea with those is to recreate the tabletop experience as much as possible,
right? Which
requires all these potential options, because the table does not limit you at all, except by what makes sense.
Yeah, is he just like figuring this out, that Western RPGs of certain studios do things a different way than 20 years ago? Like, what is that?
Yeah, well, possibly. I mean, he was born in this millennium, so he's not even a quarter century old. There's nothing to... He's new to this world.
He has no idea
figuring this out.
What Black Isle or Troika or Interplay or any... He has no idea what those...
Smud. Those were all companies from the late 20th century.
Oh, yeah.
Every genre of the entire medium and presenting it to you as an all-you-can-eat buffet. But with that goal comes a fundamental problem that needs to be solved. How do you make the boring shit not boring? How do you maintain this comprehensive approach to game design without losing players along the way? Especially if you want to appeal to not just core RPG players.
Well, no. You don't appeal to multiple audiences. You're making a hardcore RPG. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're not trying.
That is your audience.
Yeah. There's no one else. And if you try to appeal to the casual, you're done. Like, forget about it. That's
You cannot
silly.
stretch yourself thin in the sense that you appeal to several audiences. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
You will lose that way.
But somebody like me, who might want to play space exploration game or dystopian.
Don't care about your opinion, dude. We do not care. It's you either buy it or you don't, and that's not my problem. I know my demographic. I know who I'm making this for. If it's not you, you're not even in the picture.
Some like strawberry, some like blueberry, some like bacon.
Cyberpunk future game or cool guy with sword fights giant creatures game, but doesn't want to deal with the side of these experiences that has always personally dragged them down. And the industry solution to that problem has been interesting to see unfold in real time, because it's basically hide the boring shit at all costs. Weight limits are annoying and you don't want to have to deal with them. Have magic inventory chests right away.
But they're not hiding them. They're part of the system, though. The UI is simple in Skyrim, but that doesn't mean they're hidden. I mean, you can tell when your weight limit is reached. You can't walk very far.
I hate the UI. I hate the UI in Skyrim. I hate it.
And your stuff in bulk so you don't have to deal with the minutia of that. Don't want to take the time to learn how to craft items? Good news! Literally nothing you do in this game will ever even remotely require crafting, to the point that a few hours
If you don't want any of the good gear, I guess, yeah. I mean, it scales with your level, but
in, you'll forget that was even a mechanic in the first place. From a quality of life standpoint, these sound great, and these decisions are basically tailor-made for somebody like me who doesn't want to be forced into these mechanics. But at the same time, this is effectively the game undercutting a lot of its own systems, and it makes me wonder...
no. It's the crafting system is based off the inventory, which is based off your level, which is based off what can you kill to get the items to make the stuff, which is based off your crafting of a certain thing you're trying to make, or unless you, I guess you could just buy the thing as well, I guess. So
and his example with Witcher, where he was showing armor pieces. Those pieces he was showing were specific pieces that you have to go on an adventure to actually find, to then be able to upgrade and craft more. I hate this because he said, stuff like, how do you not make this boring? Well, by assigning different roles to every part of the system, and then combining everything together.
yeah.
Most of these games that have crafting systems, it's entirely optional. It is not necessary for progression. It would only make things a bit smoother for combat. That's all these things usually do.
Some games have they have like a tutorial level where they teach you, okay, here's the crafting system, go get some herbs, and then you can make your healing poultice or whatever. And that's it. You never have to make that again if you don't want to. And that was in like one of the first optional quests in New Vegas. You can create your own healing herbs if you want. You don't have to.
I mean, even in Monster Hunter, you can ignore the crafting system entirely for the base game if you are so inclined. I think the only thing where it is mandatory is in the hard mode of Witcher. Because then you need to do the story-relevant alchemy.
That is true. Well, that is also, deeply ingrained into the lore and everything, so
exactly.
It does make sense to make use of it.
All right.
Why there at that point? And the answer to that seems to be for players who do want to engage with these slower systems, but it's sort of a compromise where neither side gets what they want. People who want deep, realistic experiences are served half-baked ideas that are built to be ignored, and people who find this stuff annoying...
Which example? Like, what are you talking about? You can't just...
He doesn't like it, so therefore it's half-baked?
I don't know.
Just a small thing to pay attention to. The stuff that you put on the screen while you are talking matters. When you show us Starfield, which was a disappointment on basically all fronts, you cannot even call this a half-baked attempt. No, there was no attempt with Starfield.
I haven't experienced it yet, so I can't say. But yeah, I do know that weapons, crafting, fighting, everything in Starfield was kind of mediocre. So, yeah, I can remember the crafting in Dragon Age, in Skyrim. It was pretty big. There's all kinds of things you could make. And I think Daedric armor was the biggest. That took a while to get there. Let alone find the equipment to do it. Plus, you have to get your skill level up there. So, I don't know what he wants. Is it too complicated? Is it not big, robust enough for the hardcore crafter player? I don't know.
It seems like he wants just a perfect balance where it's interesting to him and it's not too simple for the more hardcore players.
Yeah, like the example of Starfield, one of the selling points I remember was making your own ship. And that would be, I would assume, part of the crafting system, or at least a crafting system. And that seemed very detailed, but you didn't have to do that, as far as I remember.
To have fringe interactions with them that almost makes them feel more frustrating to deal with. Like, all right,
So-
you want to have a weapon durability system because you want to be realistic, but you also don't want it to be too much of a hassle, so it's really cheap to fix and you can do it all over the world. Which
Again, which example? Are we just talking about The Witcher? Are we talking about Fire Emblem? Or are we talking about, I don't know, Skyrim? Like, what are you talking about?
You can
Right
now-
simply use that as a small money sink.
final result is you just have to stop exploring and fighting at random intervals just to fast travel somewhere, press a button, and then go back to where you were. Right?
No, just no. First of all, probably the biggest part of doing all of these adventure things and all of that is actually taking care of your gear. So if you go on an adventure and you mid-fight realize that your sword is basically breaking, you are a shit you are a shit explorer. You have to pay attention to those things, and it's not something that I don't care. That is tedium to me. Well, then get a mod and mod it out. It is possible.
Yeah, well, I seem to
After
recall.
adventure is the preparation.
Yeah, I seem to recall playing
Yes.
The Witcher 3, and after every 2 or 3 quests, you level up, and then you find better gear, and it's like, oh, this sword
Usually, yes.
is like a little bit better than what I just had, even though that one was part of like a really big subquest, like it's magical blade or whatever. You're like, okay, well, this one's better, so I'll just keep using this and toss this one. So that's a problem with The Witcher 3, I would say, but that's how the scaling system works.
Yeah, it's. I think that with Witcher, it's a problem of trying to squeeze in some things from the lore to make it a bit more interesting, and then because you find those things at various points, some of them will be stronger than the others, and it's just kind of a issue between balancing and trying to get some Easter eggs to players.
Yeah.
Now it feels both boring and completely unnecessary. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has a bit of a different answer to this problem, though. Force the player to deal with the boring shit until they realize that the boring shit isn't boring.
That's not how that works.
I think okay, when you say something is boring, that is a subjective experience. It doesn't matter what it is. You could do anything. It could be fun. It could be boring. So what he's saying in this realization is that the thing he doesn't like, he ends up liking because he's enjoying the game as a whole, and that's just one of many things that he got used to, that he has to go through to get to the other stuff he might want to do more. Yeah, not every part of the gameplay or adventuring experience is going to be awesome. Like navigating might not be fun. Fighting enemies that are in your way might not be fun. Having to check your water and food might not be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, you decided to play on hardcore mode, or that you decided to take the fast way as opposed to the long way. That's your choice.
An adventure in real life is not fun. Like you're glad when it's over.
Being ashamed of some of its mechanics or catering to my playstyle, the game goes the extra mile to convince me that those mechanics are worth trying. And by doing that,
so they're deep and detailed. You're basically describing a simulation that has depth to it, as opposed to what came out, Avowed last month or whatever. That was not very deep. They had some mechanics, had some fighting, it had some interactive objects, but no, mostly static assets. The magic system was okay. The combat was okay. Everything was sort of okay. It wasn't much.
And the brown filter.
Yeah, there wasn't much depth to it. It was just the bare minimum to make you believe this is a world where people kind of walk around and do stuff. Kind of. Even that wasn't done very well in certain cases. So all he's saying is this game, which is a simulation of medieval fantasy or medieval reality, has lots of detail, and that's why it's good, and that's why the boring stuff that I thought was be boring isn't.
Not just hooked immediately as someone who's been critical of RPGs in the past, but it basically flipped everything I thought about the genre on its head. Because I'm gonna be honest, from a bird's eye view, this game looks like the dictionary definition of everything I hate in RPGs. It is hyper-realistic. You need to constantly manage your inventory and physical well-being. Food will spoil if you have it in your bag for too long. If you don't occasionally take the time to clean yourself, all the ladies will talk about how stinky you are. Do you know how embarrassing that is? But it finds a way to make that all engaging because every second, from the moment you boot it up, it forces you to very, very actively engage in its role-playing elements, otherwise you have absolutely zero chance of...
This sounds like someone who found a survival mode in a game and then wants that thing in everything.
It's so hard. I don't like this. I mean, to drink and eat and sleep. Oh, wait, there's so many options for me to drink and eat and sleep. This is okay. I kind of like playing hard mode. It's kind of making me feel like I have a skill or a concept of a skill level, and I'm getting better as I play more. It's like, yeah, that's called video games.
This generation can't be helped.
Yeah. It's
even to save your game outside of sleeping in a bed.
Computers again.
Yeah, I mean, we could have been talking about Mega Man, and it would be the same. Oh, the platforms keep disappearing. How do I... Oh, it's called timing. I have to time my jumps. And oh, I could pass level 3 of Rocket Man or whatever. It's like, dude, like, come on. Are you just navigating through the world of genre video games you spent $60, $80 on or whatever? You're like, oh, I'm trying to get good. Oh, yeah.
YouTube was a mistake.
An important part of a quest, you need to find... So imagine how unironically ecstatic I was that after hours of losing progress over and over because I didn't have any potions, I stumbled onto this basket that had just a bunch of herbs I needed to make it. Immediately, I trekked to the nearest town, found an alchemy bench, read the recipe, prepped my ingredients, and spent 20 actual real-life minutes brewing potions just so I could save the game a few times. But even though this was a tedious process...
Oh, so you figured out how to play the game.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Even though this was a tedious process, it felt like a major win because this was my main priority. I obviously have to be able to save the game, so thank God for this basket. Except, I don't actually know if...
You stole somebody's hard-collected work. Be ashamed.
Because I also go hungry pretty quickly. First time I thought I should probably get some food first. Can't buy food though because I literally have no cash, so actually my main priority is getting my money up. Except nobody wants to talk to me because I'm bum-ass naked, so first I gotta find some clothes, but again, I have no money and no one is sympathetic towards me because I started the game being publicly shamed, so really my first priority should be to build up my reputation. But I can also do that by getting clothes that'll make people think I'm important, so maybe that is the first move. Although, if I try and steal some clothes...
What is this, dude? What are you doing? You're playing a simulator. We get it, with heavy RPG elements. That's your brain is your imagination. Ooh,
It's it's baby's first experience that we're witnessing here.
It's like he's going from a tricycle to a Lamborghini. Oh my God, there's so many gears and there's all these settings on the dashboard, and I can get heated seats, and I can go to 500 mph. Okay. Well, welcome to the big boys game. I don't know.
Negatively impact my reputation, so I can't really do that unless maybe I save before I steal the clothes so I can retry if I get caught. Except, hold on a second, I can't even save the game if I don't have potions, so what the hell am I even supposed to be doing here? The first few hours of KCD2 are basically a hardcore survival game. You can't even think about getting into the action or moving the plot along because you're just trying so hard not to die. And you also know that if you accidentally stumble into combat, you're gonna get turned into Swiss cheese. And what this forced me to do was face everything I didn't like about RPGs, everything that I found boring or would intentionally try to...
Wait. Is this like I learned
The game...
Yeah.
Go on.
Like he learned to love a genre, but he was too ignorant before, and now he's realizing, hey, wow, this
feels like...
Yeah.
Considering how young he is, it feels like he started the RPG genre games from the point that they have been for the past 10-15 years, which is completely made for the normies, easy as hell, in just, action games mostly.
Yeah.
Disney park rides.
And then he found something closer to the actual RPG game and was astonished that he actually likes it.
Yeah, because KCD2 game, the very few games that are like it, they force you to slow down. And this forcing you to slow down is what made him suddenly see the game, see the world. And take pleasure, a feeling of success from achieving these little things in it, in the mechanics.
Yeah, and this is why we praise Witcher 3 from last decade for being this all-encompassing, big, robust RPG experience with all kinds of DLC and talking heads and all kinds of side quests and just stuff you can do. And we're going to see that probably this decade, not necessarily just with KC2, but with, what's that, Crimson Desert? Or what's that one that's coming out soon? Is it this year or next year? Where it's kind of like the game that does everything. It's another fantasy hack and slash action RPG, but you can fly in the air. It's a little bit of Zelda. It's a little bit of a Metal Gear. It's a little bit of, I don't know. It does so many things. And if you watch that, the intro, not the intro trailer, what was it called? It just introduced the game with some of its mechanics. And every time the scene cuts in Crimson Desert, it becomes another subgenre, just another subgenre on top of that. You can do cantering or what's it called with your horse. You can do drifting with your horse. You can do all kinds of maneuvers just navigating with your steed. There's sword and shield mechanics. There's explosive arrows. You got teleporting. There's just all kinds of fighting and bashing and anyway, it's one of those games that I don't know what to think about it yet because it just does everything.
Around and made that the entire loop deal with it. And when I did that, something crazy happened. I stopped hating it. You know how they say if you're scared of something, you just kind of have to stare at it for long enough and then it'll stop being scary? I feel like that's basically what happened to me here. And when it did, it kind of recontextualized a few things for me. I mentioned earlier how I find inventory systems with weight limits unnecessary and kind of annoying. I understand that they're there for more than just realism. They're the secondary gameplay system that's meant to engage you further in your exploration, your relationship with the townspeople, and the game's economy. But every time I've had to engage with this, it still feels like I'm forced to stop stop doing the fun parts of the game to focus on the less engaging parts, and I hate how that breaks up the pacing. And then here, all of a sudden it came into focus. I had to constantly make real impactful choices about what was important to me and what wasn't. I needed to balance the benefits of grabbing a nearly broken piece of armor that may come in handy if I'm able to fix it up, with the downsides of having to sacrifice other equipment to make room for something that wouldn't even be useful until I poured some of my hard-earned money into repairing it. This is more than a roadblock, it's an actual genuine...
So he's never played Fallout, he's never played any of the Elder Scrolls games, like what?
Maybe he played Skyrim, but Skyrim is so simplified it doesn't even register in a lot of these things.
Inventory management is like the basics of most RPGs.
I realized that this is what people probably always appreciated about inventory systems, but because I'd never been forced to focus on it, and instead most games have tried to circumvent inventory issues and speed them along.
What game, like, have you played games before, sir? What games have you been playing that don't have inventory systems that are like focused?
I think something like the God of War, the new God of War has the inventory by, you can have everything in that inventory and you can just choose from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no drawbacks to actually having everything inside.
Yeah, and I don't think he's ever played a Resident Evil game where your inventory is like a Tetris puzzle where you have to micromanage everything. So, like, this is just reeks of casual gamer. I like hardcore games. Oh my! It's like, bravo! Like, welcome to the big table.
Always come across as more frustrating and tedious than they had strategic. In the same way, the game's fast travel system made me look at that mechanic in a whole new light, because this game does feature fast traveling, but instead of teleporting you directly to the location you selected, you actually get to watch Henry's path and see on the timer how long it's taking you to get places. You can also get ambushed or stumble across something interesting on the way, which can stop you partway through, so it maintains the majority of the convenience of regular fast travel, but occasionally presents you with emergent moments which emphasize that you are still performing the physical act of traveling. In most games with a fast travel, it's really easy to view previously visited areas as glorified menus, and the scale of the space in between locations is completely lost. The flip side being games with no fast travel, where the spaces felt a little bit too much. But here you get to keep the quality of life, and the space still always matters, with the towns and how they're connected being distinguished in more ways than just the name and basic layout. Maybe the most surprising thing to me, though, was how invested I got in all the extremely optional mini side activities. I never really played Gwent in The Witcher 3, which is somehow maybe the most sacrilegious thing I've said in this whole video, because to be honest, if you give me the decision between going off and fighting some giant beast with blades and fire versus playing a card game, I'm sorry, I'm unga boongaing every time. That is way more my speed. But in KCD 2, I found myself engaging with dice extremely frequently, despite it being much less fleshed out than Gwent is. Because at the beginning of the game, when I was just dirt poor and looking for anything to help me make a little extra money, the potential of getting even $3 extra was worth the risk of losing that same amount. So I actually felt the need to try it at first, and then once I realized how simple and fun it was, it just became a regular part of my routine. I think I just described a gambling addiction. Ironically, I think the fact that these other games had so many things that did appeal to me right away was the reason that I didn't connect with them in the way that I should have. I kept trying to play these games on my terms, trying to align them exactly with the experiences that I enjoyed growing up, because...
Okay, you have biases and you're learning to drop them. Fantastic. I'm very happy for you. You're learning to enjoy more complicated AAA titles. Okay. Can you imagine this guy trying to play like Devil May Cry? Like, oh, it's so complicated. Oh, there's so many maneuvers. I don't know. Too many weapons, too many enemies. Wait. If I just try combination attacks, I get better style points. Like, yeah, that's how you play the game.
I could see a game that slow or wasted time, but it's only now that I'm playing Now that I'm playing a game that doesn't really appeal to me, and it's giving me no other choice but to engage with these systems, or else I have to risk essentially wasting the $70 I spent to play this game, that I finally gave up that control and started playing the game on its terms. It also helps that not only was the game forcing me to pay more attention, but what I was paying attention to was a lot richer than the average RPG. Not only do you have very limited inventory space, your horse also has very limited inventory space, and coming across chests that hold your items, especially early on, is very rare. The vendors that you interact with also have their own net worth, and you can't sell them more than the amount that they can afford. Plus, you can only sell certain items to certain types of buyers, and there's even a basic haggling system for any transaction. There's just so much more to sink your teeth into here than you get with a game that's hell-bent on removing all the friction from the experience. And I think some people might hear all of this and assume that I'm trying to say that every RPG should be like this, with these deep, realistic, hardcore simulation elements, but that's not true. If that happened, I actually think that'd be kind of annoying. What I want is for more of these games to realize that by continuously streamlining the process and attempting to remove the friction entirely, you're setting up certain types of players to only appreciate one dimension of the game.
Where have you been for the past 15 years, my dude?
Yeah, it's like games are iterative, and every time someone makes a new thing in the same genre, they want to improve what came before.
It's not exactly about improvement, because you can improve something without overly simplifying it. But this whole thing that Bethesda has been doing, and a lot of companies falling in line, was just streamlining the interesting things instead of actually trying to make them work. Morrowind, then you have Oblivion, which is simplified, and you have Skyrim, which is even more simplified. You get Fallout New Vegas, then you get Fallout 4, which is completely different. You get 76, which is even more simplified in some ways. It's this kind of stuff has been happening for a very long time now.
And then you get an independent developer making a simulator of medieval whatever time period this takes place in. You're like, oh wow, all these things that the setting I like, and the world I like, and the characters I like, and the story I like, and it's hard, and you gotta try to play it. It's like, yes, that's like, people don't understand that we want to have a level of skill to play a game well. It's not just, oh, I want to relax. Yes, I want to relax, and I also want to have a game that makes me think about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So, games like Devil May Cry are flashy and stylish, but you can't just play it with auto attack on. You can't just, pull out your pistols and shoot everything. You can, but it's not going to get you many points. So you have to try harder. You have to keep getting better. And I think the simplicity of a game like Elden Ring, because it's so in your face, it's so brutal, that you need to play a certain way to survive. But there's so many ways to survive. It's not just, well, you could use this weapon and this is the best. No, you could have like 15 different kinds of weapons, and you can come up from a different angle, and you could try ranged attacks, you could try magic attacks, you could try all kinds of different things. And there's all the subsystems like potions and buffing and magic that you can make this strategy you want to use only stronger. So, people like that. People like using their brains. Believe it or not, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be shoveling slop or planting flowers. It doesn't matter.
Of what you should be doing, which is getting the merging struggle, can really be effective for any game in the genre. Like, genuinely any game. In fact, some of what KCD2 does actually reminds me of another RPG I enjoyed a lot when I was younger. Maybe the one that resonated with me the most up until now, and definitely the one that I have the most hours in. And I think it's worth it to look at as a smaller case study. So let's take a quick detour and talk about NBA 2K13.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. Before playing NBA 2K13, the only basketball game I'd played was Me Basketball from Wii Sports Resort, and the only other sports game I played was NHL 2K11, a game where you were able to create a player, crank him up to level 99 on everything, and just have him rip through every team you came across. So when I loaded up NBA 2K13 for the first time, and right away I saw the My Career mode, I just kind of assumed it was the same thing, and went into it expecting to instantly turn my player into LeBron James. Instead, the game winds up turning you into LeBron James.
Junior.
What?
In My Career, instead of just making a character and maxing out all of his stats immediately, the stats you started with were god-awful, and you had to earn them extremely slowly through the course of your fictional NBA career. It is brutal. The better you do in the practice game, the higher...
So he truly never played a game before that actually rewards you for engaging with its game systems. Which means he hasn't actually played anything in his life.
Well, it seems like the carrot stick mechanic in this sports game is like one-sided. It's like you do this and then you get points. It's like, yeah. So it's very simplistic. Oh my god, it's a sports game with RPG mechanics. It's an RPG. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, the tedium
the
needs to
worse
have
the
meaning.
team is
What
that
a
you have to
fucking
play with.
surprise.
You even get to interact with big shot celebrities like Dion Waiters.
Sounds like a wise fella to win in this league. You need all hands on deck. Good call. Check it.
And honestly, this was my favorite part of the entire mode. I remember I would basically play through My Career until my player got to a competent level of playing basketball, and then I would start it all over again. Because it was never really as fun to me to walk into every arena and drop Wilt Chamberlain numbers en route to an 82-0 season just to do it again next season. There's nothing exciting or surprising or unique in that. But even when you got really good at NBA 2K,
Oh, you mean slow improvement is fun?
And the payoff no longer matters when you're doing the same thing over and over again, and it's the same payoff.
You know, there are people who figure that before their age reaches 2 digits. Congratulations, you're catching up.
Yeah.
What
run
a
of My
lucky
Career
bastard.
forced you to be a little bad still, and made you earn the right to move on to better places. Like not Charlotte. Now I should mention that when I got NBA 2K13, I didn't even really like basketball, and this mode was so good that it got me to watch the NBA in real life. And
So wait a second. You were never into sports, but you bought a. How does that work? How did that happen?
I have no fucking clue. But we'll make a real German out of him yet.
I just like, come on. How?
We'll have lots of manager games. They're basically princess makers, but for sports teams.
Yeah, but just think about this. You're with your friends, and you like, was it peer pressure? Did you just randomly win the lottery and out popped a sports game? I guess I'll play this. It's like, what? Like if someone handed me, I don't know, a FIFA 2023 or I don't know, whatever's most recent, I'd be like, I don't care. I get enough soccer in my life as an Italian. I don't need to play a simulator of it. I'm pretty good, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
favorite sport. I love the way they dribble up and down the court. Unfortunately, I did become a Dallas Mavericks fan, so it hasn't been the best time for me recently. But the fact that this game, and this mode specifically, had such an impact on me shows just how much I resonated with this structure, even as a kid. Interestingly though, I'm reminded of a section of one of Drew Gooden's recent videos where he has a completely different opinion on 2K's My Career, or at least the modern iteration of it. He talks about how gruelingly slow it is at first, and the fact that this is supposed to incentivize you to spend real-life money on speeding the process up.
Really?
Which is true. This was a thing back in 2K13 as well, but they have undoubtedly built the system more and more around microtransactions as the years have gone on. And in turn...
So he's playing a game designed for people who like, oh, if I could just spend some money, I could get better at this game. It's like, oh, God. This is what he's focusing his time on? Oh, wow. What a horrible...
This generation is so over.
Wow. Like, I play games that do have transactions if you want, but I've never spent any money on these games. Never. Oh, jeez.
Beginning has gotten agonizingly slow. game.
This is how the game wants you to feel. They want you to hate this part because they know the more frustrating of an experience you have, the more likely you are to just skip to option 2, spend $40 more.
So there's very clearly a limit to how far you can push this.
losers.
If you go from making the player struggle to practically stopping progress entirely, it loses all of its charm, especially if there are microtransactions involved. That's something that's always bugged me about the new Assassin's Creed games. The leveling system in this series is borderline gacha, but in calculated doses, it can become so much more effective than a frictionless experience depending on what you're trying to accomplish with your game. Even still, it's interesting to see how a gameplay loop that I love can be completely hated by somebody else, and it's even more proof that there's no one way to design something. You can't account for everyone's preferences, but I really respect the games that are just okay with that. Speaking of, going back to KCD2, you can see the same motifs of struggle, friction, and mundaneness, not just in the gameplay, but also in the narrative. At a time when everything's getting bigger and stories are covering so much ground, this game succeeds by filling in every inch of a much smaller space. Instead of branching out, the story elements branch in and overlap. NPCs and locations are often reused for multiple quest lines, and not in a lazy way, but instead in a way that makes characters feel less like quest markers and vendors and more like actual people that are constantly being referenced by others and might help you out with different problems.
Okay, so all he's saying is that there's no such thing as branching in. I don't know what that refers to. All he's saying is that the flags in the game that denote certain... Whoa.
What the fuck?
What was that? Did someone just have a seance? What was what was that sound?
Dude, did you fall into the sewer?
Did your microphone like get too close to a speaker? Like what happened? Oh my god.
Don't do it.
I gotta change our location. That was so creepy. What was that sound?
That's Poland at night.
Oh yeah.
It's when the cryptids come out.
Oh god. Let's try US East. Here we go. All right, I think we're back. Hello? Are you there, sir?
I don't think that's a region issue.
Oh. Well, we see you online. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Hey.
Hello.
Wow, that was funny. Anyway, back to what I was trying to say about conversations or what have you. There's flags. The game has a series of flags, and if you do a thing, the flag gets set to true, and then someone later on in another dialogue tree can reference that flag, and the dialogue will fire. That's it. That's all it is.
Just like in real life.
Yeah, it's just a series of flags.
Tell about the people in neighboring areas that they might love or hate. They'll discuss local rumors and their opinions on the people who seem to be spreading them, and even smaller quests will often feature multiple familiar faces. Nothing in this game feels like its own consolidated event. It always goes back to ground you've walked before and people you already know. Let me give you an example real quick. And just so you know, there's going to be some minor spoilers here, but it's from the very early hours. It's not even a full side quest that I'll be covering. It's a side activity, and it's like a drop in the bucket for what this game is. But still, if you want to skip it, you can go to this timestamp. In the first area of KC...
Let's skip it. I think we're done with this.
Help, I'm lost. I think I fell asleep at some point.
Yeah. All right, here we are. We're just going to skip this part.
Level of interconnectedness might feel like more of a nuisance than anything. If you're somebody that typically likes to just knock things off of a checklist instead of having all this extra tangential stuff to do, which is, you know, usually how I feel, this might sound like a frustrating level of dependency. But it feels less like the game is extending the runtime of an activity by making me do a bunch of busy work, and more like all the mechanics and quests are being properly laced together to support one another. This activity could have just stopped when I grabbed the axe and maybe found it in perfect condition, but with this extra smithing step, the reward for the quest feels more personally earned, the skill feels more useful to the quest, and the blacksmith and innkeeper characters make their umpteenth appearance in early side and main quests, each instance of which deepens your bond with those characters when they could have easily been forgotten if they were just blank-faced vendors. The game even does basically the impossible with this activity and takes something that I've always hated, the illusion of choice, and makes me not really mind it all that much. I mentioned how when you talk to the mouth, there are options or skill checks that seem to dictate what story he'll tell, or if he'll even tell you one at all, but really, it all leads to the exact same story and same quest. And the knee-jerk reaction to this for most people is that the game is essentially lying to you about your level of control and making you think your choices matter when in reality they don't at all. But by the time this quest had come along, I had already seen a ton of instances where my decisions did truly matter, significantly, to the point that the game had already fully earned my trust, and in real time, I assumed that these particular choices were no different. It was only when I looked into it further for this video that I realized that this was all set dressing, but really, as long as that illusion makes me fully believe that unique things are happening, isn't that just as good as something unique actually happening in practice? It's like any other sneaky dev trick. If you can hide it really well, it's brilliant game design, but if you can't, it'll be relentlessly picked.
I'm a bit lost what he's trying to get at here. Is he just describing good game design? Is that what he likes?
I think in the end he's just happy he found a game that's actually good for once.
Right.
The problem is that he is assuming that those games that he didn't like, that he had problems with, are doing something quote unquote incorrectly, which is not always the case.
Your bluff. I'm looking at you, Fallout 4. So while I still have conflicted opinions on the illusion of choice as a whole, I think it's pretty amazing that this game has made me question such a long-standing opinion in the first place, and I wonder how I'll view it in other games going forward. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is not a perfect game. Even in its systems and side quest design, which I've spent so much of this video praising, there are definitely some mechanics that feel a little bit long at the tooth, and stories where the characters involved are a lot blander than normal, and that quickly takes what I love about the design and instantly unravels it into this mess of random names and unengaging activities. But it's a game that's not afraid to take massive risks, and to enjoy it, I had to take massive risks in the way.
Instead of telling us what is the fix for the RPG problem, you are just saying that you liked Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much this video has been him gushing about this one game he really liked, even though he thought he wasn't. It's kind of like, I don't know, you go to the gym or you go to the park, and it's like, you can play tennis, you can play soccer. Oh, there's baseball. It's hard. You gotta like try. You have to practice. You're like, oh, but I like it. You're like, oh, even though it's mundane, you're just swinging a bat on a ball. It's like, yeah.
This is just the stupider version of my thing with not liking tower defense games, but really liking Dungeon of the Endless, which is in the end a tower defense game. It's just hidden so well that I don't notice it's a tower defense game.
Yeah.
Why I decided to even buy this game in the first place, even though if I told somebody that I was looking for an RPG to change my mind about RPGs, this probably would be the last one on the list, because it's such a committed RPG that you kind of assume that if somebody's not on board already, they'll find nothing to like here. But I think the overwhelming sentiment from not just me, but a lot of players right now, is that games that fully commit to their ideas and don't make concessions to try and appeal to people well outside their main demographic are ultimately the games most worth playing. If they're the type of game that you already like, then perfect. If they're the type of game that you don't like, then either they have a chance to show you why you should like them, or you could just not play them. That's
your message?
Not should like, but can like.
Find a thing you like. If you like it, keep liking. If you don't like it, well, maybe you should try it again. If you still don't like it, well, maybe you should stop playing it. It's like, okay.
It's not made for you, unironically.
Yeah, this is really a bland way of looking at it.
Oh my god. Maybe he's just bored and he wants to like make a video for the sake of making a video. I don't know.
I would say the very surface level take is correct, that if you dislike something, you shouldn't be playing it. The problem that we usually have is that we liked certain systems in their previous iterations. They were changed, and we are unhappy about that. And usually what happens is we are being told precisely that if you don't like it, don't play it.
Yeah.
I think
So
the main
big,
problem
so
with
expensive
this,
that I'm more than fine ignoring one that can't pick a lane. I think a lot of people are, and that's why you see the brutally difficult RPG, the massive turn-based CRPG, and the deeply realistic medieval RPG all be.
What do you mean with especially difficult? You mean the combat? That's not RPG, that's the action part.
Yeah, he was talking
You're
about.
not using the words right.
He was saying turn-based, and now he's talking about ARPG. It's like, yeah, those are very different mechanics. People love turn-based. Some people love turn-based games. Some people hate them. Some people are just whatever. I'll play Baldur's Gate regardless of the combat. Like there's all kinds of gamers out there.
I think the main problem is, and
becoming defined.
I can't believe I'm saying this again. And the problem with this generation is that we even need to tell the kids that if you don't like something, you don't need to play it. You don't need to watch it. Play and watch and listen to what you like. Why do we have to tell them how playing playing a game works, how enjoying yourself works? What the hell? This is truly the height of incompetence.
Yeah, Mahjong and chess are really complicated, but if you get to learn a bit, it's actually pretty fun. You're like, wow, really? Didn't know that.
Moments for the genre, while the massive space RPG for all has a hard time appealing to both the core and outside audience. This genre is maybe the pinnacle of what games are capable of, but if you take that idea too far and make a game for everyone, you wind up making a game for no one.
Oh my god.
Platitude. Correct platitude, but platitude.
That was your... So how is that
just jammed in there?
What's the problem? What's the RPG problem, dude? Games are boring?
Mm-hmm.
What? Game for everything is boring, or game for everyone is boring, but you have to make a game for one person, and then that one demographic will like it? Like what?
I'm sure he knows what he meant.
Yeah. The chocolate lover went to the chocolatier and he was very, very happy. Like, wow.
With KCD2 under my belt, I think I have a better framework for appreciating this genre more than I once did, and I'm honestly really excited to give some old games another shot and dive into some newer stuff that I've been hesitant about. I played most of The Witcher 3 a few years ago, and I always respected it, but never truly loved it. I think I'd appreciate it a lot more after playing this game though, so I might get back around to it. I've also really been eyeing Baldur's Gate 3. I was kind of afraid to get into it at first, because I really thought this wasn't the kind of game for me, but it turns out I might be totally wrong about that, so that's probably next on the list. I'd love to know what you guys think about modern RPGs.
How about you play something proper? Like Vampire the Masquerade, Baldur's Gate 2, Planescape Torment, Morrowind,
Yes. But Whisp.
Lands of Lore 2. Yeah, play Lands of Lore 2.
All of them look so bad. They look so old and dated.
Play Gothic.
Yeah. And the
I
expansion.
feel like you do have to kind of mature enough to this point. Because I had massive trouble with certain games when I was younger. Well, because I think for me, my first Elder Scrolls was Skyrim. So I had massive issues trying to get into anything older. Even Oblivion was a bit off to me.
Well, Oblivion is off. It's Oblivion.
Yeah, but you know, in terms of like graphical stuff and all of that, when I tried to play Gothic, I had trouble with it a lot. Lately, I have no issues. I am coming back to games like Original Thief, Gothic 1, Gothic 2, and these games have their own charm. It's just the fact that you have to...
It's like classical music.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily like it as a little kid. You like because when we were kids, that was the pinnacle of graphics and gaming, and since
Which
it
I
was
kind of
made
missed.
for the operating systems that we had that were modern at the time, they worked, and that's an extra level of trouble. Of course, I
Yeah,
understand.
my thing is that if you have missed some of those older things, when you are older, you have a different set of standards. When you start playing some games, you have a different set of standards. So for me, Skyrim was kind of the base point. So when I started going back, it felt off. Even though Skyrim is not the greatest game and all of that, but in certain aspects, it was running the best. So that was kind of my point of view for that. And it takes time to actually convince yourself that it's worth it to go back to older games.
All right, we are almost done with this. We have 30 seconds left.
2 if you've played it, and also what are other RPGs that you think I'd enjoy, preferably a few that aren't 600 hours long. If you're new here, subscribe, join the Discord, it's in the description, and check out this video on my second channel about the death of cheat codes. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Okay. That was...
I don't think he was bad. I think he's just not thought through.
Yeah, he seems like a casual learning how games are played. And he's like, I could play the hardcore stuff. It just takes me, a month or two. Like, okay, cool.
That's okay.
All right. Do we have any memes, sir? Let's find out. I think we do.
I couldn't even stay awake. How should there be memes?
There are memes. What do you know? This video so far. Do you have a single fact to back that up? Well, he went through some experiences, so he did a good job with that. What do we got here? I love RPGs, bro. They are my favorite genre of video games. Looks inside game catalog, action, adventure, and beat 'em ups. Well, in his case, it was NBA 2K3 or 2K whatever, 13,
which is a princess maker.
Yeah.
Sports managers are princess makers.
World Conqueror, polite enough to allow players to take their turn. Yeah, I know. Fate of the World can wait. I need to play Blitzball. Yep. The side quest character watched me walk to him after I played the game for 1 year. He didn't save his dying son. What game is that? Oh. All right. That wasn't painful. It was just sort of like, ugh. Kind of silly. Anyway, yeah, I think I got that vibe watching this 2 weeks ago, and I got to the 3-minute mark, and I went, yeah, something's missing. A little bit of foresight, a little bit of self-reflection. Something was off here, and I think most of his skills went into the video editing and trying to craft a narrative in that video he made, as opposed to actually coming to any conclusion of or definition of what the problem was for RPGs.
Video editing is a strange game. I'm not good at that one. I think what this mainly showed is that he lacks experience in video games, but found some here.
I guess.
And misinterprets that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, wow, this indie company did a really good job doing a simulation. And he just happened to like it because the other simulations he's had, like Fallout 4 and Starfield, are so like meh that anything that comes close to it and does better is like, wow, this is fun, even though I'm just dragging sacks of seed around. It's because you like the world, you like the settings, you like the production value is so high. There's talking. You're curious about quests. You have all this inventory to manage. There's all this stuff going on. You feel busy. It feels good. And you're playing a game. And it's a simulation. It's not an action, stylish game. You're not jumping up and down. You're not playing a sport. You're trying to get better at what you're doing, as you do in all RPGs. Anyway. Yeah, I don't think we need to cover that guy anymore. I think he's good. We're done. he's got his own quest line in his life, and maybe it involves gaming. I don't know, but maybe he'll mature
You
another.
get there.
Yeah, but maybe another 4 years he'll play. I don't know.
Gothic.
Gothic Planescape Tournament. Something more complicated, like KOTOR 2. Maybe, I don't know. Something more complex. Let's just say. Anyway, that was how long we go. Can't even check. That was not even an hour and a half. Wow, good stuff. All right, well, I got some work to do, so thank you guys for your time. Hopefully we'll get something for Anime Day. There's plenty of anime to watch. I don't think no one's talking about it for some reason. It's good stuff. But hopefully we'll get some good videos these days on anime. We'll find out. Anyway, thank you for your time. We'll talk to you soon. Keep voting. Good night.
Night.
Night.